Hello and welcome to the CIPD Middle East People podcast. We're delighted to be back again, and today we've got Gemma Morris who's with us, and we want to understand today why is it super important that we bring neurodiversity onto the table, onto the agenda in the Middle East. Gemma, welcome.
Thank you very much, Adrian. Pleasure to be here. So I'm Gemma Morris. I am a senior HR business partner at Savills Middle East. And I am very passionate about neurodiversity in the workplace and beyond, mainly because I have a personal lived experience linked to that. But I also feel it's a conversation that is not held often enough, and the awareness really needs to be spread further. So I'm very keen to advocate for neurodiversity, and thank you for having me here to do that.
Yeah, delighted to have you. Likewise, this is a personal topic, and I think as we speak around our friends and our colleagues and our families, it's a personal topic for most people, right? We've got some level of this. When we were looking at topics to bring into that were really important to the Middle East people profession, this is one that was right up there. So why is this? Why is it so important to bring this onto the table now?
Yeah. I think that the region is definitely noticing that neurodiversity is something that hasn't really been spoken about and needs to be spoken about more. We're seeing more coverage in terms of podcasts and media touching on neurodiversity. So I think it's important to bring it to the table because I don't think everybody has that awareness of what's out there in terms of information, which can really support individuals in the workplace and beyond.
I mean, personally, I'd go further than that. I think we're seeing organizations that we hear nothing more than neurodiversity, but is it a box ticking exercise?
Yeah.
And maybe we rewind it a bit. When we're talking about this term neurodiversity, what are we talking about?
We're talking about different and diverse cognitive profiles.
That's a lot of big words for me. You're gonna have to help me out. Help me out with this. What does that mean in the real?
I guess that means that, there are people that have specific profiles that need more understanding and awareness in order to get the best out of those people and for them to thrive, and also for them to give their best, whether it's environment, whether it's the work that they do. And I think companies need to leverage those, recognize what strengths people bring to the table.
Love it.
And just really have a better understanding of individuals and their the challenges that they might face as well.
So this isn't a nice to do, and I think that's why it came on to the top of the list about why this comes into it. Unfortunately, I speak to a number of HR professionals who see this as a problem to get around, right? That's something that they have to take care of. It's a requirement. But they're not seeing it as a potential advantage. Whereas we speak to other leaders, some of them neurodivergent themselves, and they would say, actually, if you're not taking care of business in this area, you might get beaten by an organization that is.
Yeah.
So this isn't deficit that we're trying to mitigate or get around.
Yeah.
It's how do you supercharge your creativity? How do you supercharge your attention to detail? How do you create environments that are going to bring the best out? And is there if there's neurodivergent, does that mean that there's such a thing as neurotypical? Because I don't think there is.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I agree with you on that. I think that neurotypical is just a system, a profile that was created and had everybody in mind. So, it's good to look at through a different lens and look at how people differ in terms of capabilities.
Right.
Some people have amazing brilliance and strengths in some areas, and it's up to companies, to leverage those and recognize those and support those, develop those. Yeah.
So a lot of in the deep dark days when I first started studying these areas, there was a lot of the psychology profession was about averaging out. It was like the bell curve of where people tended to fit and then outliers. Now, neurodivergent work kind of started off around those outliers, but that's not where we find it today. We found out that we've got, the word is overused, but we've got superpowers that sit in some of these areas, certainly in the real world, advantages. What sort of advantages do you think that we might be missing by having a typical workplace?
Well, I guess not allowing people to do what they feel are their strengths. We're trying to put people into profiles and job descriptions and rigid structures. So I think that is a problem, really. We need to look at individuals where their strengths lie and really allow them to run with those, whether that's maybe somebody needs some quiet time to focus, hyper focus, do their best work. We've got that issue of presenteeism as well, always being
Yeah.
at your desk. So really just the flexibility around people's profiles, really, and giving them support to give their best.
So are you suggesting that the way that current workplaces are set out is not getting the best from people? Does everybody not need a little bit of quiet space? Might be 2%, might be 20%, might be 80%.
Yeah.
Does everybody not need a little bit of that somewhere? Does everybody not need a small creative outlet? Does everybody not need opportunity to rationalize data?
Yeah.
Right? But the degrees vary, and how we process that is absolutely. So taking the average, what have been some examples of the things that have gone well that you've seen in the workplace? Where has there been examples of things that, that's helped? That's been really good.
There are even small adjustments that can be made.
Right.
In the hiring process, for example, and job descriptions.
So when you brought up the point about job descriptions,
Yeah.
I don't think everybody thinks about that, because look, JDs, if we're being a little bit honest, JDs are quite generic
They're very generic.
in most organizations.
Yeah.
JDs tend to be now at least drafted by AI,
Definitely.
even if they're not. They might even be reviewed by another AI. So is that really the place to start?
Yeah, I mean, it's a basic requirement for anybody applying for a job to understand what the job actually is. Excellent communication skills. What does that mean? Does that mean I need to have the ability to write reports and be able to, read reports at length? Because that's going to be a big part of my role. Just be very clear in the job description itself. And
So being specific, was kind of be more specific about those tasks and.
don't want to see rock star, superstar,
Yeah.
all of those things. Because if I'm honest, I don't really know what that means either.
No.
Am I a rock star? Not quite sure.
Isn't it strange? How often is that popping up in? And I think people think it's cool, and it might
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
But it's kind of not helping.
It's not helping, no. And I think, and we all love an emoji every now and again as well. But I see on LinkedIn posts,
Yeah.
for people who have, text to speech, that is quite difficult then to be able to, to understand
I would never have thought.
those posts. So
Yeah.
just small adjustments can be made. I know as part of onboarding, for example, in my company, we like to ask if there are any adjustments, if there are any requirements that would help that person
Sure.
feel more comfortable in the work that they'll be doing, whether that's a standing desk, whether that's a particular space in the office. Maybe that person doesn't want to be sat next to a printer, or we're trying to make those accommodations, because that can really interrupt focus and someone's ability to do their best work.
Yeah. And again, back to the earlier points, I think some of that just applies to everybody. It's just good office design. It's just good organizational workflow design. But certain things can be specific. Now, in certainly in my community, I'm a gentleman of a certain age, and coming into this region when there were really no policies, there were really nothing around this area. Even in education, there was not really any accommodations whatsoever.
Yes.
A lot of people coming into the workplace at that point struggled to be able to communicate what they needed, and also might have felt that they were stigmatized around that. I'm hoping that that's improved or what now. What's your view on that? How do you feel about that?
I would like to think it's improved, but I think there's still a long way to go.
Right.
I feel that there is still that, sort of psychological safety that needs to be created
Yeah.
in order for people to feel that there's not going to be any repercussion for declaring, extra adjustments
Yeah.
or support.
So if I mean, a lot of people would tell us that they've self-diagnosed. We would hear this a lot.
Yeah.
They'll go through the online questionnaire. They'll go 16 out of 20 things. Oh, I've self-diagnosed. Is that reasonable to then go and have a chat with your HR or what?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, in the UK, as far as I know to date, there is no requirement to disclose to get that extra support. So
Absolutely.
I do feel that that is the way to go. I don't think I think we should come from a lens of how can we help rather than, look at that person and think, what are they trying to get out of this? Or, let's just build it from a positive place.
Absolutely. How do we get the best out of? How do we provide? So for those colleagues that what we're getting at is you might not need the label to be able to go, hey, I need to put on file that I have a diagnosed condition. I see that no, that's not, and for most people that's not the case anyway. That absolutely isn't.
Yes.
But if you've then found out because you've got to know yourself, you've learned and you've done the work on yourself, you found out that I perform better when I get better results. I get higher quality, less error rates, more creativity. I can influence better, whatever it might be. Those are strong conversations to have. Actually, this would help me. This would, and who else does it help? Help me. I get to contribute better to my team. Is it more complicated than that? Am I missing something?
I don't think so. I think it's just really taking it from the baseline of what can we do to support you and for you to bring your best. And obviously that has an impact on what that individual brings to the organization.
Yeah.
I did see something actually I really quite liked, which was maybe having the idea of like a people passport and having those questions on there and asking all of your team. So, what environment do you feel that you work best in?
Yeah.
What are your stresses? What are, there's lots of different questions that you can
Mm.
ask, but it's very simple. And even as a manager, you can do that as well. It's a team effort, and everybody just sees that then as cohesion for the team. So, and I think it's best that we don't approach this from trying to single people out and, pushing them to give information maybe they're not happy to divulge.
I think that's a really great point. So what I'm hearing from that is maybe don't step away from your management duties and go do some DE&I, right?
Yeah.
But actually look at performance, workflow, individual personal development.
Yes.
And within that, some of that is going to be profile and preference. Some of that is going to be environmental and workflow design. But we don't step away and do some DE&I work. We integrate it into getting the best from ourselves and our organization, right?
Absolutely.
At the risk of oversimplifying it, that's what we're... Look, I also think we've got some good traditions. If you work in an organization in Dubai, you've been on an offsite. You've done a psychometric workshop. You've done a how do we work as a team and what's my favorite color and what's your spirit animal, whatever the passion is today, right?
Yeah.
But the plus side of that is we have opened the door to talking about preferences.
Yeah.
We have opened the door to talking about differences.
Yeah.
So my spirit wolf is different to your spirit dolphin, and you now need to, I need to have a phone before the meeting, and you need to have freedom and quiet, whatever it might be, right?
Yes.
So all joking aside, I don't think we're facing a closed door. I think we might just need to build on some of the positives that we've already got.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. For some businesses, it'll be basic, awareness within the business, and that could be training managers on, the different profiles that do exist and how to recognize those profiles. And for others, it might be transferring that into capability. What are you doing differently now that you have that awareness? So I think that those are the fundamental aspects that we should start with.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we've seen disproportionate numbers as well, right? So I came out of the development space. So started off as a sales manager and went into those trainings. so many of my colleagues in those areas emerged to have what might now be called neurodiversity because they were in creative, performative, various areas where we were just attracted to that sort of thing and we just love to do that. But we've also got other diversity at the other end of the spectrum where people really, and I don't want to misuse the word spectrum, but where people just want to lock themselves in a room and work through that data, right? They just want to drive on that, right?
Yeah.
So we're not looking at one thing
Not one thing.
at all,
No.
right? I think leaders sometimes need some help, but I've seen it. I'm going to go, right, no, I'll fix that.
Yeah.
But just taking that, how do I help that individual get the best out of their working life to contribute the best that they can in the team? That could be 2%, 2%, 2%. And around your organization, you've got 10, 12, 14% advantage.
Absolutely.
Huge.
It is huge.
And
And the statistics are that neurodiverse teams are up to 30% more productive than what would be classed as neurotypical teams. So having that diversity within the team is actually a strength for the business as well and as the individuals.
Yeah, not nice too. And I'd love to see some of that in this region. I'd love to see more of that research here
Definitely.
and organizations that want to go in it. So what do you feel is the next step? So here's where we are. We're not where we were 30 years ago. Probably not exactly where we want to be.
Yeah.
So what's the next step for leaders, HR leaders, general management? What's the next step for organizations?
I think apart from what I just mentioned about the awareness and the capability, I think it's also being aware that you wanna track how successful adjustments are, and really understand how you can make an impact with certain profiles. Obviously, everybody is different, but it might be the place to start if you can see that something's worked for somebody and get the research, get the data, because I think that that's what we're missing in this region at this moment in time. We don't have enough. And I guess when is there ever enough research anyway? But, we could definitely really leverage data and really understand the workforce better if we have that data.
So is tracking impact, I'm trying to process this myself. Is tracking impact about connecting back with the individuals? Is it net promoter scores? Are we going to go into performance management? How do we track the impact, do you think? What's going to be?
The impacts, yeah. I mean, I think successful adjustments is definitely one. Obviously, that would be through speaking with the team members themselves, but also that would hopefully be seen reflective in their work.
Yeah.
It would also be maybe the team's reflection on their manager, how supportive their managers are with, the challenges that they face and how supportive are they of supporting their strengths, putting them on projects that they know that actually that person would excel in. Let me just pick based on what I know about my team and what they enjoy and what they thrive at as well.
Love it.
That is one thing for ADHD individuals, for example, that hyper focus, that attention to detail, and being able to support those things would really make a huge difference to the individual themselves. It's something they're passionate about, and you'll see that in
Absolutely.
many different outlets, whether that's revenue, retention is another one.
Absolutely.
So yeah, there's lots of positive impacts that can be made.
So if you're in the talent space and you're looking at your pipelines, you're looking at your leadership workflows, then if you're an employee, and I want to shift in a moment to look at leaders, to look at managers as well. If you find yourself in an organization that is actually listening to you, is actually paying attention to you, maybe not perfect, but is making some efforts, your chance of looking on LinkedIn for another job that pays 10% more is like, I'm not going to risk losing this
Absolutely.
to go chase something over there because we're in the Middle East. This is a relationship-based culture.
Yes.
It's a trust-based culture. So one conversation I've had with many supposed high potentials, I use the words, because talent is often about speed. It's about how quickly it can get competent, how quickly it can get ready.
Yeah.
Possibly I haven't got solid data on this, but I think it's fair to say that a strong proportion of those that are tagged as high potential have got some level of diagnosed or self-diagnosed neurodiversity. It may be slightly more than the general population.
Yeah.
And that might be about individuals who've locked into some advantages, who've found a pathway. There's a lot of might here because this isn't solid data.
Yeah.
But one thing that's come from that is they're embarking on their leadership careers. They've already made it through the first steps. They're now being seen as top talent for executive roles, a couple of steps away. And some of them are being forced into the general box.
Yeah.
So to be a general leader, you want to be somewhere in the middle so you can move up or down, left or right, depending on the situation. And my advice as a talent leader has tended to be, don't worry too much about that.
Yeah.
Because when we look at the very best leaders that we've got across our family businesses and across our government sector, we would tend to see things which psychologists would describe as spiky profiles. You're really, really good at some things. And you know what? You're really not very good at that other stuff.
Yeah. There's huge,
You can
there
employ
can be
people for
huge
that.
gaps, right? In
But if
that psyche profile.
Am I giving terrible advice? What do you think?
No, I think that that's a really good way to look at things. Be aware of spiky profiles. That there will be people that have those very, big strength spikes, but also those very real challenge dips. We need to be very aware of that, and let's not mistake confidence for competence as well, because I think that happens quite a lot. So let's.
Quite a lot, like all the time. Yeah, it is. Yeah, really, really quite concerning. I mean, the phrase spiky profiles, and we talked about this before we were on air.
Yeah.
Psychologically speaking, it might be whatever. If we're using a big five, we're not just kind of in the moderate profile down the middle.
Yeah.
We're kind of, we might see some extremes, lefts and rights and stuff.
I've got a nice way to frame that.
Help me out, because I always struggle with it. Yeah.
So I would see it as a skyline with very tall skyscrapers and low-rise buildings. There's kind of no in between.
Yeah,
times.
absolutely. But interestingly, because I work with a number of orgs where, hey, here's our leadership profile. We're going to assess people about our leadership profile. You need to be these competencies all the way along.
Yes.
And I've derailed a few processes. I'm not proud of it because I've said, brilliant. Now we have to take that model and apply it to our existing executive and our existing board members because they're really good at what they do. And we go, no. We wouldn't have hired those people. We wouldn't have hired them because they'd be seen as deficit in this area. So what happened there? We saw people finding their strengths. I just want to do more of that. I want a route that you can be really good at something and we'll mitigate these things to stop them being a problem.
Yeah.
We'll help you build teams.
Yeah.
As a leader that'll say, you just carry on being really good at what you're doing and we're going to hire more people around us to complete us, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's society. I think that's
Yeah.
the villages that we live in. We don't have to be brilliant at everything. We just need to get paid for what you're really good at, not for what you're really bad at. And that's what I wish for. That's what I wish for.
I think there is a high expectation there and it's maybe always been there of we need to be great at everything. But like you say, if you can just give that support through, for example, and I know he doesn't mind me saying this, but my husband has ADHD and I know that he does his best work when he's got that support when it comes to admin and repetitive tasks.
Absolutely.
His focus and working memory, can work for and against him at times. So it's really imperative that we, notice what we can change in the structure to allow people to really, thrive.
I know there's some terms, we don't have to use the official ones, but there's some performance guidance for neurodiversity, which is about getting to know yourself.
Yeah.
Getting to know what your high rise and your low rise is. I love that. Absolutely love it. And then finding people who've got something on the other side to be your kind of ally and your partner, because you can spot each other, you can help each other a little bit.
True.
You can also say, I'm seeing things here for you. Now that can be a private, co-mentoring, it can be a private thing.
Yeah.
But it's something that individuals can do, but organizations, we can sort of say, look, this is useful.
Yeah.
All right. Absolutely. You have this kind of a leadership buddying thing going on to say, you're probably blind to a few things, and we all know a few leaders who are. Connect with somebody who's really strong in that area.
Yeah.
A little bit of that will rub off on you, but also kind of help each other out a little bit.
Yeah.
So that expectation to be everything to everybody it's not realistic, is it?
Very outdated, I think. It's
Right.
yeah, very archaic. We need to move away from that for sure.
But when we go, if we make a call to the, to the big organizational development companies, they will ship us a 9-point profile, which is brilliant at everything, right? And we just got to help move past that. So as always, time is against us a little bit. What do you want people to take away from this podcast? What's the 1, 2, 3 things that you want to go away and go, let me have a think about that in my organization or my personal one?
So I think I would like people to speak with their managers and be as candid as they can, and managers to be open to listening.
Yeah.
And have that very real conversation of, maybe that isn't my strength and this is my strength, and I would really like to focus more on that area. I'll be, more productive, and that will help all of us here.
Yeah.
So I think those very real conversations with compassion and really just wanting to have that deep understanding would be great. I understand not everybody really has this awareness of neurodiversity right now, but we all have to start somewhere. So let's just put one foot in front of the other and take it all at our own pace.
Yeah.
I would like to highlight as well that, neurodivergent individuals and parents of neurodivergent individuals like myself, there is a lot of cognitive load that comes with daily life, and it would be great to just have support, whether that be flexibility, whether that be, in terms of working arrangement. Maybe you don't have to sit at your desk all day. You can go and sit in the quiet space. I don't need to see you there. That manager really understanding. I know that they'll be doing their work. I don't need to have that whole view of presenteeism, and just try and move away from that. And just have that emotional support for the parents as well, I think, because that's really, it's challenging. It's like having an extra, life almost, right? You're living a double life. You're managing therapy schedules. You're managing extra financial strain. You're managing so much that goes into the day, aside from your job, from your day-to-day job. So that's important. And I think just be curious. Everybody have that curiosity to learn, to find out more about neurodiversity, to understand the different profiles and how you can best support people as a colleague, as a friend, as a family member,
As a decent human being.
decent human, standard human being. Yeah.
And for those who are super practical, who are, I've got to hit this quarter's numbers, and I want to be good. I want to be a good ally to my people. I would be quite strong on this. I think there is big differences, as you suggested. 30% performance impact. It's like getting to know your people and having some accommodations around that. That means if you're not doing it, good luck, because you may well be beaten by an organization that decides to.
Absolutely.
And the talent may start to, I like what I'm hearing there, don't like what I'm hearing there. Now, that might be too long term for some people.
Yeah.
But this is a generational region, right? And I would hope that's heard from.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe take some examples from some of the companies that have been doing, making advancements in this area. You've got some of the big corporate businesses that have included neurodiverse hiring support and basically, inclusive pathways for people to move internally and obviously, get a role in the first place. I know there's a high unemployment of autistic people in the UK, autistic individuals, and we don't want to keep seeing that across the world. We want to give everybody equal opportunity. We want to support people where we can, and I think that all comes from understanding, awareness, and, like I said, that curiosity to learn more.
Absolutely. Now, great advantages there. Look, this feels like a great place to sort of pause, but I say pause because I think this is something we have to come back to.
Absolutely.
Some of those organizations we talked about on paper have got lots of strong things going into it. And the advice I heard quite recently was, if you've got all of this in policy, but you're not seeing huge impacts build from that, because there's some habits that were already formed. Even if you're not doing the best of work, you're doing some work. So build from where you are, turn one or two of those policies into not just a policy, but go that extra step further. See if you can have 6, 8, 10 people that can really feel the benefit of that. Build another working group to strengthen that. And whatever you are, there's a next step, right? We don't have to aim for perfection. We just have to put one foot. I love the phrase, put one foot in front of you.
I think that we do.
And there's real commercial benefit to this, as well as being a decent human being.
Yeah, can do both. Why not?
I think we can do both. Yeah, I don't think they're mutually exclusive. Gemma, it's been an absolute pleasure. Hope to continue the conversation in the future. Thank you. Thanks for joining us.